My name is Muhammad Amsharani, matrix number A194499.
Hi, my name is Ahmad Azimuddin Husni bin Abdul Hadi, and my matrix number is A194976.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Akib bin Fazil. My matrix number A195085.
Hello, my name is Muhammad Afriz bin Bijari with a matrix number A196376.
My name is Muhammad Faris bin Muhammad Zamri, and my matrix number is A195793.
For introduction, ESG is a framework used to evaluate an entity business practice, governance, reporting, and performance on sustainability issues. ESG value have been at the core of the insurance industry DNA for decades, but this principle have been more formally structured in the last decade. This has provided Aktuari the opportunity to apply our innovation and expertise in a new and expanded ways within and outside the insurance industry to help build a more resilient, sustainable, and inclusive society. Aktuari leverage advanced quantitative methods such as scenario modeling, stochastic process, and stress testing to focus long-term risk associated with ESG factor. Actuaries act as a crucial bridge between climate science and financial modeling, integrating catastrophe model and climate data to better reflect environmental risk in long-term forecast. Climate risk such as flood, rising temperature, and extreme event has become an increasingly important concern for financial institutions, particularly insurance companies and pension funds. This risk can affect both the asset and liability of such organization, prompting a shift in how long-term financial planning is approached.
One major environmental issue in ESG is the mispricing of assets and insurance due to climate change. Traditional models often miss key physical risks like floods or wildfires, leading to inaccurate valuations. This affects not only short-term returns but also long-term stability of portfolios, including pension and insurance funds. Kiesel and Stahler 2023 describe climate risk as systemic marked by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, VUCA, making them hard to manage. Meanwhile, Camplico et al. 2023 also found that these risks are often underpriced in markets, and integrating them into financial models remain a major challenge. Public health risks and limited access to insurance are key social issues in ESG. Health insurance is vital for universal coverage, yet many vulnerable communities still lack access. Without affordable products, the protection gap widens, leaving people exposed during health or crisis events. Pendi and Astana 2024 highlight these challenges, especially undeserved populations. Weak governance and poor enterprise risk management make it harder to handle ESG-related financial risks. Strong ERM and oversight are crucial. Without them, companies face strategic missteps, regulatory penalties, and loss of investor trust. Mishra et al. 2019 stressed that risk management is key to delivering stakeholder value, while the European Actuarial Journal 2023 urged insurers to integrate climate risk into governance models. ESG ratings often lack standardization. Different agencies use inconsistent methods, which led to conflicting scores for the same company. One firm could score high on environment but low on governance, depending on the rate. UI Malaysia's ESG report 2023 highlights the urgent need for harmonized frameworks like ISSB and TCFD to ensure consistency and transparency. One major factor is the inadequacy of traditional actuarial financial models. These models struggle to capture long-term and non-linear climate risks like sea level rise and decarbonization. Camplico et al. 2023 note that integrating these risks into standard valuation framework is still a major challenge, often leading to systemic underpricing. One key factor is socio-economic inequality. Many people, especially in low-income or unstable jobs, can afford insurance premiums, excluding them from formal systems. Pendi and Astana 2024 emphasized that affordability is a major barrier to achieving universal health coverage. Another factor is the lack of awareness and trust in insurance in some communities. People either don't understand the benefits or distrust insurers due to misinformation or bad experiences. Pendi and Astana 2024 highlight how this significantly reduce insurance uptake, especially in low-income groups. Many companies still rely on outdated or fragmented enterprise risk management system. ESG risks like climate threats or social unrest are often handled in silos, leading to poor coordination and underestimation of financial exposure. In the United Nations Environment Programme Finance Initiative 2021 stresses the importance of integrated risk governance to tackle these emerging threats effectively. ESG rating vary widely because agencies use different methods and scoring systems. This leads to conflicting scores for the same company. Berg et al. 2022 found that the correlation between ESG rating is low, mainly due to these methodology differences. Many firms provide ESG data that is incomplete or unaudited. This makes it hard for actuaries and investors to rely on the information for sound decisions. According to OECD 2020, ESG data often lacks consistency, transparency, and third-party verification.
Hello, good afternoon everyone. Today I will be discussing the environmental, social and governance or ESG impact on companies, countries and communities. These three pillars crucial in understanding how broader risk and responsibility affect all levels of society and business operation. Let's start with the environmental aspect. Companies that ignore climate risk often make a poor investment decision, particularly in sectors like insurance and pension funds. According to Campiglio et al. 2022, this oversight can lead to serious financial instability. At the national level, countries like Malaysia are highly vulnerable to environmental threats, especially sea level rise. This increases the urgency for climate adaptation strategies and long-term environmental planning. For communities, the impact is more direct. Climate-related health issues are becoming increasingly common, affecting quality of life and putting more pressure on public health system. Now, let's move on to the social dimension. Companies that don't offer inclusive insurance coverage often end up rising to recover from risk and financial losses, as highlighted in the Insurance Business Report 2024. This affects affordability and accessibility for the average consumer. From a country perspective, weak healthcare system and limited insurance access worsen inequality. There are also the increased dependency on government support, straining public resources. At the community level, financial exposure during crisis trap families in cycles of poverty, reducing their resilience and long-term ability to recover. This shows how social risks ripple through society from top to bottom. Finally, for governance, for company, poor governance can result in regulatory penalties, loss of their investor confidence, and operational disruption. As noted by Jiang et al. 2025, this increased default risk can be shortened debt maturity. On a national scale, ineffective governance deter foreign investors, especially in emerging markets. Without transparency and accountability, it's become difficult to attract the capital needed for development. For communities, poor governance often means corruption and misuse of public funds. This is especially problematic in state-owned enterprise and local governments, as noted by Farasman 2022. It undermines trust and prevent equitability development. So, in conclusion, the effect of ESG-related risks are interconnected, whether it's a company boardroom decision or community level impact. Each pillar, environmental, social and governance, play a critical role in shaping sustainable and resilient societies. Thank you.
Hi, today I will briefly walk you through the various approaches taken by individual, companies and countries in addressing ESG challenges, which is environmental, social and governance. These strategies are grounded in academic research and best practice to aim to reduce risk while enhancing long-term sustainability. Starting with the environmental dimension, stakeholders are using stochastic model to price climate-related risks in financial markets. For instance, Caridas and Zipapides in 2019 model rebut several climate events like floods and wildfires using poison shots as a statistical approach. This helps ensure that transition risks like those from policy change or green investment as properly factored into asset valuations. Next, on the social front, a key approach is expanding public health insurance to ensure wider access to healthcare. Research by Erlanger et al. In 2019 found that such expansions lead to increased healthcare uses and significantly reduce out-of-pocket expenses, and making health system more equitable and accessible. In terms of governance, organizations are shifting to decision-oriented enterprise risk management, or called as ERM. By Glebner and Berger in 2024 emphasized dynamic risk quantification using tools like Monte Carlo simulation, capital adequacy assessment, and risk aggregation. It's also important to create a culture where everyone in the organization is aware of prepared for risk. Finally, under ESG reporting, Chunha et al. In 2025 developed a framework consisting of 48 ESG indicators. These are directly linked to company performance, such as strategy, risk, and capital structure to help standardize ESG assessment for better transparency and comparability. To sum up, these multi-level strategies, from climate modeling to healthcare expansion and risk-based governance, to highlight the growing role of ESG in driving sustainable data-informed decision. Thank you.
Next, I'm going to explain what have been learned from actual knowledge regarding the chosen issue. First is stochastic modeling and ALM. Actuaries use economic scenario generators to simulate ESG related risks, for example, inflation and climate risk. It helps optimize asset liability matching while maintaining solvency. Under public health and accessibility, actuaries do design inclusive, affordable insurance. It models guide pricing amid aging populations and health risks. Long-term projections is about life and pension models that now factor in ESG risks. It include climate regulation and activism. So ESG integration requires shift in traditional actuarial modeling. Then for the next part is valuation models with ESG shocks. ESG enhanced models like Black-Scholes to account for carbon taxes and social unrest. It ensures fair pricing for liabilities and financial instruments. Next, stress testing and scenario analysis. It used to model extreme ESG events, clearly for climate disasters. In this case, actuaries recommend non-linear approaches for better accuracy. Then for risk governance and ERM. Enterprise risk management frameworks adapted to ESG by enabling organizations to identify a broad range of financial and non-financial risks, such as climate policy or reputational risks. So, actuaries embed ESG into own risk and solvency assessment to support regulatory compliance. Then, portfolio optimization and CAPM ESG scores include it in mean variance models to build sustainable portfolios. Actuaries use mean variance optimization with ESG scores to balance financial return and sustainability. It helps minimize risk by removing low ESG scoring stocks. Now, what are the group's recommendations on the issue? First, mandatory ESG disclosure. This requires ESG reporting for all listed firms, especially high risk sectors. It helps actuaries or investors integrate ESG risk in valuation. Then we need to expand actuarial models by enhancing CAPM or multi-factor models to include ESG risk premium, such as climate and governance. This reflects systemic ESG risk more accurately. Then we need to standardize ESG scoring by developing a unified ESG scoring system for comparability across industries. This reduces inconsistencies in investment decision. Then we need to focus ESG in actuarial education by including ESG modules in actuarial training for climate stress tests or sustainable investing. This builds future-ready actuarial expertise. Other than that, we need to promote ESG financial instruments by supporting green bonds, social impact bonds, and governance-linked loans. This aligns capital with measurable ESG outcomes. Lastly, we need to strengthen governance metrics. Actuaries Actuaries need to assess governance risks, for example, board diversity in loan or investment modeling. This encourages transparent ESG grading systems for pricing and disclosure.
In conclusion, the integration of ESG factor into actuarial and financial practice is no longer optional. It is a critical response to the growing complexity and severity of global risk. Climate-related threats such as flood, heat wave, and rising sea level are already disrupting economic stability, while social challenges like public health, vulnerability, and governance issues such as weak oversight and inconsistent ESG disclosure further amplify long-term financial uncertainty. In this evolving landscape, actuaries are uniquely equipped to lead the shift towards sustainable, risk-informed decision-making. Their expertise in long-term modeling, scenario analysis, and financial forecast place them at the forefront of designing resilient systems that can withstand both environmental shock and societal pressure. However, to fulfill this role effectively, actuaries must go beyond technical calculation. They must actively support the development of standardized ESG reporting, improve risk pricing framework, and contribute to the creation of sustainable financial instruments such as green and social impact bond. By embedding ESG into the core of the actuarial science, the profession can drive forward a future where financial systems are not only stable but also ethical, inclusive, and responsive to the realities of changing world.